Oh, hey there, and welcome to the Ope-Eh Three-Way Pro Wrestling Podcast. On this hour, episode 41. I'm Brandon, joined as always by my boys, Donnie and Pierce. Fellas, how are we doing today?
That was a
Looks like
clean crack of a beer can, if I can say so myself. Sorry, I cut you off, Pierce. But that was clean. That sounded great.
that was a
Excellent.
clean crack, but it looked like your phone was having some technical difficulties staying up.
Yeah, we were also
I
like
mean,
seeing your ceiling the whole time.
yeah, technically it's 7 up, so, but I mean, I'll take it. Hey, I'm
Hell yeah.
just cleaning up a little bit, a little bit of restart. But what do we got on the agenda today, though, fellas? We got So I mean, there's so much wrestling going on over the last couple weeks, over the next couple of months.
Yeah, we,
But
we, we got we got stuff going on. They don't know when to take a break, but we're gonna cover some news, a bit of happenings recently in the wrestling space. We'll cover that. We're gonna cover well, really kind of a skim of Worlds Collide coming up this weekend. It's an interesting card that's being put on between AAA, NXT, and WWE. And then
And TNA. I think there's some TNA representation as well.
is there actually?
mhm.
Nick Nemeth is apparently going to be at the card.
Okay, well that's not officially on the card, but nevertheless.
Mm,
Um, And then like the meat and potatoes are going to be Money in the Bank, also coming up this weekend. So
of course. Yeah, I think that was the first PLE that we ever did together, was it not?
it would have been,
That is
My
yes,
memory serves correct.
yeah, fresh off
Wow.
of it being in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and Heatwave.
Mm-hmm. Time sure does fly, though. Hey.
It sure does,
Wow.
eh?
and here we are. Just a couple of Ope boys talking wrestling. They may have a Spotify, a YouTube, a Twitter, a Facebook, a TikTok.
Ah.
You might want to follow us on all of those. I recently just posted my first real video on TikTok. Definitely stole it from our buddy Jimmy from Stash Club, Jimmy from the Q. Shout out Jimmy.
Mm.
Go check that out. But I think it's time as always. Could you please, Donnie?
Yes.
We got another short one today. 2011, Mick Foley is granted his release from Total Nonstop Action after a run that included a world title win somehow.
Yeah, interesting how all that happened in early 2010s TNA. It was a time.
It's Hogan and Bischoff TNA, categorically like some of the worst TNA.
Categorically, yes. Yeah, you are not incorrect in that assessment.
But we'll jump to some categorically worst WWE with 2017 Extreme Rules taking place in Baltimore, Bodymore. The Miz wins the IC title from Dean John Moxley Ambrose. The Bar would defeat the Hardys for the Raw Tag Team titles. And in the main event, Samoa Joe becomes the number one contender for the Universal Championship in a 5-way, including him, Roman Reigns, I believe Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and maybe Rusev. I can't remember who the fifth person is.
A number one contenders match was the main event.
Yeah, I mean, this is Brock time, so of course it was.
That was prior to Great Balls of Fire, if I recall correctly, correct?
Yep, led into Great Balls of Fire. Shitty pay-per-view name, but an absolute great pay-per-view.
Man, that's so
And maybe
stupid though. Like I don't know. Like I wasn't watching during that time, but the thought of a pay per view that you have to pay for combined with like increased ticket prices associated to that, and your main event is a number one contender match, like that's so stupid.
that match led to Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar, so I'm not gonna.
Great, yeah, I get it, but like number one contender shows are usually saved for weekly television. My
Yeah,
one man's opinion.
That is the preference anyway.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, it
But
happened.
finally, happy birthday to the inaugural AEW Women's World Champion Rio. I miss seeing her on TV. She's a hell of a performer. Only 28. She is younger than me. So that's crazy. But happy birthday, Rio. Hopefully we'll see you on AEW TV soon.
All right.
Hopefully.
But that's all I had. It's another short week. We jumping into Worlds Collide. We jumping
I think we'll
into
cover the news first, since that's what we talked about quick at the beginning.
Comedy is dead in WWE.
Come again.
Comedy is dead in WWE. That's what happened.
Well, I mean, if you found Valhalla to be comedy, then yes. But
Well,
notably, we found out over the course of the week that 3 WWE talent were not going to be renewed to their are being offered new contracts, and they're going to let their contracts expire. Those 3 people are aforementioned Valhalla, Sarah Logan, as well as R-Truth, Ron Killings, and Carlito.
So it was reported for R-Truth that he was offered a new contract for substantially less, and that's why he passed on it.
No, I mean that's his choice to make, inevitably. Like that, I think I saw that came from Meltzer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sure Truth will get a Legends contract, but it's still 17 years, and he's just let go to the wayside. I understand he's an older guy, but he was getting some of the biggest pops, and he just had a feud with John Cena. Like, he was a marquee match for last week's Saturday Night's main event.
yeah, but I mean, we don't know. Like, none of the terms of the contract are ever public, and sometimes I'm skeptical of how legitimate some of these rumors are, or whether he's offered a contract or not.
Meltzer?
Sure, anybody almost, like the speculation pieces, not so like the actual news of it, like that's not really up for debate, but the whole circumstances associated to it and whatnot, that's largely pure speculation. I don't think Fightful reported anything along those lines. But that said, Truth has not wrestled that much in the ring during. I don't know how long his last contract was, but outside of the tag title run that he had with the Miz after WrestleMania last year, and even then it wasn't that often in the ring. He's not an active in-ring performer on a weekly basis. That's just not who he is. So thinking about it in the construct of it, it's a business. You pay the people that are there to put people in the seats every week and perform. R-Truth was technically not that guy anymore. So I can understand a way of looking at it why he would have been offered less. Now, does he bring value? Does he fill a need that doesn't really exist all that much? Absolutely, right? With WWE being essentially a variety show of violence, comedy has always been an element to it, and pretty lacking now with the removal of Carlito and R-Truth. You really only have Alpha Academy, I would say, on the main roster now for that. So I don't know if it's just a directional change as a whole for the product, or there's a lot of elements that you could consider, I would say. What do you think, Brandon?
I mean, I personally think it's very unfortunate that you have these guys well, Carlito particularly, that you bring in based on his reception back at Backlash 2023.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that was the large driving force behind it. But then it's just, with Lito, I feel like it's one of those guys, again, where you get it in WWE where it's at any point in time, kind of like Nakamura, you could break them out and you couldn't have them be worth something. But I understand also that not everybody can be world champion. Not everybody can have that main event run, especially nowadays, because there's so many people. And you look at NXT's women's division as a prime example of that, right? You have, people like Stephanie Vaquera, Julia, like Jordan Grace, who just come in and people will immediately expect them to have a main event run or will be headlining PLEs or something to that effect, while also kind of underscoring those who have been there and those who have put the time in. With Lito and with R-Truth, I've said it on this podcast a couple of times, I believe, where R-Truth I would have liked for him, and that's not to say that he won't ever do it, but Truth would have been a guy who I would have liked to see become oldest WWE champion. That's my own selfish opinion. Lito, I felt, could have had a bit of potential there too. Obviously, he's in terrific physical condition.
They both are.
Right. And I mean, obviously, he had like a bit of charisma that's just peeking through with his interactions with the Judgment Day, but it never really quite fully materialized. And that's my gripe about it. I understand, like, if the direction is like we gotta find younger and we gotta find hungrier, and if that's the mentality that's going forward, then that's what it is, right? It's a corporation; they decide what they want to do with that. But it's terribly unfortunate, and I've seen people talk about it too, where it kind of undermines the what do you want to call it? Right, like Santi had mentioned it on his show, right? Like it kind of feels like the soul of pro wrestling is kind of gradually being eroded away by these decisions. And whether or not it's solely a TKO thing based on their principles, based on, how they decide to, keep and release people. But I mean, it's in all, it's terribly unfortunate with Carlito and with R-Truth because I've been watching them both for at least the last 20 years, right? Being 35 years old. And they can both still go. But I understand based on the talent they have coming in as well, and based on the potential they have, that maybe some room has to be made. Maybe we can't, like with Braun Strowman, we can't keep these guys at their current contract. How do you want to say? We
The
can't
value,
pay
yeah,
them what they.
yeah. You
Yeah,
can't pay them off what you signed them X number of years ago when they were in a different position on the card. I think
exactly.
that's a fair consideration to make. All right,
Hmm.
Pierce, did you want to add?
So with Valhalla, I think that was probably the least surprising. That's no disrespect to Sarah Logan. She's a great performer. I'm seeing people being happy that she's leaving because of her political life. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, no,
She can be her own person
that's
outside of
stupid.
WWE. She's a character on TV. People need to realize that these people live their own lives and they have to
Exactly.
realize that they are people. They're not just TV characters.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, just
if
because
she
they're in a
wants.
role that you don't necessarily like doesn't mean that like they're any less of a person than somebody else who gets let go, right? So obviously empathize for all three of them now because their livelihood changes as a result of the business decision that's made. So you want to be cognizant of
Hmm.
that.
Absolutely. Yep.
So all three of them, I hope the best for. Like I said, I feel like Carlito and R-Truth are probably going to get a Legends contract at some point in the future. Carlito, I think, just won a world title in a Puerto Rican league.
WCC, I think it's called out in Puerto Rico.
It might be his
Hmm.
dad's league. I don't know, but
Yep.
whatever they do next, let's just hope the best. But let's talk about NXT last night because there was a surprise debut.
Yeah, so I guess out with the proverbial old and in with the new. The end of May and the beginning of June was brought in with arguably the hottest free agent that exists in the wrestling landscape for all of about what 2 days. About that, yeah.
About to
About
say, yeah.
same as
Yeah,
Ricky Saints.
yeah. Mariah May was taken reported to be taken off the AEW roster on Monday, and then on Tuesday she debuts in NXT. Not named Mariah May. It'll likely be something different. Mariah March, Julia June, April August, whatever you want to call here. But yeah, that's a big debut. JC Jane was doing her patting on the back speech after winning against Stephanie Becerra last week. Out comes like basically the entire women's locker room to say she's not a deserving champion. The lights go out and Mariah is in the rafters introducing herself to the NXT universe.
She really went about it like the old Bruiser Brody. Stayed in the territory for a year or two, had a bloody feud with the top champion, left and goes to the next territory. Um, she had one of, if not the best women's rivalries in the past 10 years, maybe all of wrestling. And AEW rose her star to a degree that it will be at for the rest of her career, hopefully, and is now doing what she's always wanted to do and be in WWE, and that's not a slight against AEW at all. It's just known that she's a WWE fan and wanted to be in WWE. So, I'm seeing the tribalists. Oh, she went from top champion to developmental. It's not what it is. She's going from one territory to another and starting at a different point. And she's going to be probably the prominent woman in NXT for the foreseeable future. And I'm excited to see what's next for the Glamour.
Brandon?
No, absolutely. I mean, and that was kind of my concern too, right? Is with Mariah May in AEW, I would have liked to see her do a little bit more within the promotion besides being strictly tied to Tony Storm. But at the same time, Mariah May is what, 26, 27 years old.
Also
And
younger than
her starting
Pierce.
in, yep, there it is. And I
Much
feel
younger
like
than
it's
both of you.
That's the barometer that you
not
said
wrong.
earlier on the show. That's why I brought it up.
Well,
And
but
let
no,
me
I'm
make my joke.
Go on, Brandon. Go on.
no, I'm very, very excited to see Mariah May in NXT. I mean, from what she had tweeted out, she'd actually did promo work for WWE Shop earlier in her quote unquote career, had she not? So, I mean, and right, she had been blogging about WWE forever. And sometimes that's how it is, right? When you want to get to where you want to be, sometimes you just take a couple little detours. Sometimes you just take, jobs in the competition to kind of bolster your own stock. And bolster she fucking did. Obviously, like you said, Pierce, the feud with Tony Storm between her and Mariah May was easily one of the standout women's rivalries of probably all time. And I'm very excited to see what she does on her own in NXT. And obviously, she's shooting right for the women's championship. Who wouldn't, right? And a lot of people already expect her to win, but I still think there's a lot of intrigue as to what it is she will become within NXT. Like, does she become NXT Women's Champion right away, kind of undermining the whole thing with JC Jane and how she's been there and how she's kind of fought from the bottom? Or do we just get the Mariah May era or whatever it is she happens to be named? I guess we'll see. But in either respect, I'm very, very excited to see her on the brand.
Yeah, the thing I think about most when it comes to Mariah in this sense is, we talked about this offline, um, you know, the fundamentals that somebody needs to get over in the wrestling world. And that's some combination, if not all three, of being good in the ring, being able to tell good stories, and, you know, having a connection to the audience, whether that be just like your upbringing, where you come from, what you look like, whatever, right? And quite frankly, I would say Mariah May has all three of those abilities in spades.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's no reason to believe why she won't be an absolute star in the WWE universe and down the road, and in the NXT universe quite soon. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see how that all pans out. Whether we don't even know if she's going to be a face, a heel, what's going on, but she does have her eyes set on that NXT Women's Championship. Wouldn't be surprised if her first match isn't until Evolution. If they want to, that's not too far down the road. They might wait for her
Right.
there, or maybe give her one warm up match on NXT before debuting her at Evolution. But yeah, it's a very big addition again to the NXT Women's Locker. That's had a lot of flux over the last few months, but just another huge name added to that roster, and we'll see what happens next.
And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go back on the point of her going from world champion to quote unquote developmental. You know who else did that? Stephanie Vaquer. So let's all
Pretty instantaneously, yeah.
look at Vaquer now, and Mariah is going to be just fine. She will be one of the biggest stars of the women's division for WWE in the next few years.
Yeah, and Vaquer is even the only one too. Asuka was a world champion in Japan, then she came to NXT. There's countless of examples. And I mean, we always go back to the old AJ Styles saying he should have been on NXT rather than debuting straight on the main roster, and he's an absolute legend. Going to NXT to just, you know, get dialed into what the expectations are for WWE rather than throwing yourself to the wolves and letting the crowds decide. It's a lot safer of an investment of your time. It doesn't necessarily have to be long. Like, look, Julia and Stephanie Vaquer both are already less than a year on the main roster, and both of which are in Money in the Bank, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But
Apparently, Ricky Sage is going to get called up within the next couple weeks. They're saying so, and he's only been on NXT for 2 months. So
yeah, just it's not a death sentence to be sent to NXT by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, the product is as hot as it's ever been with the variety that you see on a week to week basis. So
it's
For
just the
sure.
AEW. It's the AEW tribalists saying that and saying that she's a traitor. She's not. Wrestling is healthy. Let's just enjoy wrestling.
hell yeah. Uh,
Agreed.
Next thing we're going to cover is the two shows coming out of the Los Angeles area this coming Saturday. We're going to skim this one first. Worlds Collide. It's going to be out of the Kia Forum in Inglewood. 3 p.m. start time on the East Coast. It'll be on YouTube. It's not going to be on Peacock or Netflix or anything like that. You can catch it all on YouTube. So no reason not to tune in. But this show is a combination of now the poster itself says WWE and AAA. We know NXT talent's going to be on there. You guys made a mention of TNA, though they aren't technically on the official poster. They will likely be there in some capacity. Yeah, this is the first Worlds Collide show since 2022, back when it was just NXT versus NXT UK. But there are...
When they buried NXT UK.
Yeah, they sure did.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that made it out of that alive from like the match winning perspective was what? Alba Fire, right? Oh no, she even lost too. She lost to Mandy Rose. What am I talking about?
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, that's
Yeah, that was kind of the procession there.
yeah, that was the death knell of European NXT for sure. But there's 5 matches on the card. We're not going to get into too much detail on these, honestly, because not a lot of familiarity in relation to the AAA roster, and they're loaded throughout this show. But we'll cover some things and talk about some stuff where it's relevant. We got a couple 6-man tag team matches. First one is Legado del Fantasma. That's Santos Escobar, Angel, and Berto versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Psycho Clown.
So the son of Dr. Wagner's son.
Yes, the son of Dr. Wagner's son, El Hijo,
The son of a doctor.
Dr. Wagner Jr.
I mean, I've seen clips of him. He's great. Psycho Clown's a legend. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be flippy nonsense. That's all it needs to be.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's weird. Like, I used to get AAA back in the day, and I would have seen Psycho Clown on an antenna TV probably back in like 2006 or thereabout. So, I mean, he's definitely, without becoming a junior or whatever, Psycho Clown's character has come a long way. So, I mean, flippy nonsense, right? I don't know that Legado comes out ahead in this one, though. I think with it being the opener, I think that AAA may come out ahead in this one.
Yeah,
especially considering the names involved.
I agree. Like, there's been a lot of turmoil with Legado on SmackDown over the last couple months, so that would make sense for AAA, I think, to get a win here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, start off strong.
The other 6-man match, originally booked to be Latino World Order's Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, but unfortunately Joaquin is injured. He's been replaced by Dragon Lee. Or sorry, no, Dragon Lee was always supposed to be in there. Sorry, he's been replaced by Lince Dorado. Excuse me.
Lince Dorado.
Yeah, Lince Dorado is now going to be the third person in that tag match. And they'll be up against Octagon Jr., Aerostar, and which I'm sure will be a cult classic in the IWC this weekend, Mr. Iguana.
You said we need to change this to the Iguana show, so...
Man, that guy looks weird.
But in a good way.
Yes, in a good
He won
way.
me over. I'm a fan.
I'm certainly sports entertained when I look at Mr. Iguana petting his iguana.
Iguana.
Yes, iguana.
Quote unquote iguana.
I mean, it's more flippy nonsense. I mean, Lucha is. I don't mean to be an asshole about it, but that's what it is.
Wow.
A lot of Lucha is like there's the full on technicos, and then there's the rudos.
I didn't realize we
But
were going to have Dax Harwood on our podcast today.
Well,
yeah, no flips, just fists. I'm just saying it's gonna be flippy fun. Is that better?
I said flippy shit, so that's. I could see
hey, some shit
LWO
could be
winning
fun.
this one, but yeah. Again, more.
Yeah, I'll jump.
Go ahead.
I'll jump on the LWO bandwagon on this one as well.
Yeah, more
Just for
Lucha.
this one.
Lucha madness in this one for sure as well.
I just hope that most of it involves Mr.
It'll be
Iguana.
nice to see Lindsay again. I've always liked Lindsay Dorado, so
Yeah, I hope Mr. Iguana gets a big spot, ideally with his iguana.
I feel like Aerostar is going to get a big spot though. He's been a meme for quite a while for just his high dives off of banisters, or not banisters rather, but like
railings and scaffolding and stuff like that.
yeah, scaffoldings, yes. So I expect one good spot out of Aerostar as well, but
all right.
Ultimately LWO in the end.
Next up, fatal four-way match for the NXT North American Championship. Ethan Page defends against Javon Evans from NXT, Laredo Kid from AAA, and Ray Phoenix from SmackDown.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
More flippy fun. I mean,
oh yeah,
maybe not flippy. In some cases, it might just be bouncy and not flippy with Javon's case, but yeah. A lot of stuff is going to be flying during this match. Ethan Page is probably the only guy who's not known for his aerial attacks.
Nope, he's known to keep it grounded, and I think that's going to be to his help and detriment for this match. But I do think Ethan will probably retain.
Brandon?
Yeah, well, looking at Laredo Kid and his presence in TNA as well, I often questioned within the last week or so, who was going to be the first quote unquote TNA guy to capture an NXT championship.
Is he a TNA guy or is he a AAA guy, technically speaking?
AAA.
Yeah, a bit of both. He's been on TNA more than a few times as well.
Signed to both.
There you go, TNA representation.
But
yeah, he's been around the block, but yeah, it's hard for me to see Ethan Page losing the championship, especially this soon into his reign.
Ricky Starks didn't hold it all that long.
No, you're right.
From Saints.
Sorry. Here I am using the
UAW mark.
The con name.
His actual name.
The
4-hour
name.
AEW show today. That's too much for a TV show. Just want to.
That is.
Yeah, I forgot about that. 4 hours of Dynamite. Yeah, as if they haven't learned their lesson from their pay-per-views. Yeah, I could see someone like Laredo Kid winning. I don't know if Javon would win on this show, and Ray Phoenix. I don't necessarily think winning an NXT championship would be best for him right now, but I could see Laredo Kid honestly winning this match. Ethan Page is someone who's due for a main roster appearance as well. He's already won the NXT championship. Now he has the North American championship. I can't imagine him having a very long reign as North American champion. So,
nah,
I could see something happening here.
Right, with Ethan Page,
yeah.
No, dude's in his mid-50s, right?
Mid-50s?
Mid-30s, sorry.
Are you still on R-Truth?
Podcast for sure.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the R-Truth controversy. No, he's in his mid-30s, and I feel like the time
Hamilton legend.
Yes, with Page, I feel like you want to strike while the iron's hot, and maybe that means him just dropping the North American Championship at Worlds Collide, and you want to treat it as a hacky sack title for this brief little bit, maybe. But if the ends justify the means, right? To get Paige up on either Raw or SmackDown, preferably Raw, then it bees what it bees.
Mm.
But
Speaking of Raw,
I, mm,
how about their newest acquisition? She's in the next match, isn't she?
Yeah, a
mm-hmm.
tag team match. Stephanie Vaquer teams with Lola Vice from NXT against, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce these correctly, Chick Tormenta and Dallas? I'm not, I screwed up, I'm sure, but
I don't know either, but the AAA women, I do not think they are winning this match.
nor do I.
No.
Um, I think Booker T is going to have an aneurysm,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and because it's both Lola Vice and Stephanie Vaquer, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Which, by the
Doing
way,
it.
well, again, getting into this in a little bit, but Stephanie's debut, crowd was very hot for her, especially doing the Devil's Kiss move concurrent to Liv and Ivy Nile. So, unfortunately, we don't get to
With the
hear
Devil's
Booker.
Kiss? No way.
We don't get to hear Booker go anymore. But
No.
maybe get our swan song this weekend because yeah.
Stephanie looked like a star on Monday. They added a little bit of pyro and smoke to her entrance, and it's just the Devil's Kiss, if you would.
Yeah. Same intro music though. Sorry, Brandon.
At the
No,
entrance.
no, no.
Great.
I mean, could they do a bit better? Yes. But I mean, like I've said to you boys the same thing. Her aura alone will set her apart from most women in WWE, I would think. And they already plotted her in a little bit of a handshake segment with Stephanie, or rather with Rhea Ripley, for a reason. And obviously, they see a lot in her. So, and she's obviously renowned the world over, right? Like you said, she had been a champion shortly, very, very shortly prior to her signing in WWE. And with her reign in NXT being as short but as prominent as it was, I don't see a heck of a lot different being exhibited in her main run
I don't think
on
she's
the
her
roster as well.
theme is actually done by Def Rebel either, for what it's worth.
No?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I'm just pulling it up. I don't want it
it's
to
Def Rebel
autoplay as
E.
oh my goodness. We're gonna have some weird audio come in there for just a second, but
Oh,
no,
please.
it's done by the Musu Music Group, and the composer is Chris
Okay.
Eggert. Yeah, so that's not even a Def Rebel song. You can't even.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
Shout out to those guys. You done good. For
can't hate on them
Okay.
for that.
It's all right.
What'll likely be the main event of this show. YouTube, or sorry, Wikipedia doesn't link it, list it this way, but I'd assume this will be the main event for the AAA Mega Championship. El Hijo del Vikingo, aka Vikingo, will defend against Chad Gable, and definitely not El Grande Americano.
No, different people.
Different people.
Oh, yeah.
This is gonna be if they give this the time that it deserves, which I think they will. Oh boy, this is gonna be some real wrestling, some real graps.
I'm
And
curious how much on WWE television, because this is technically WWE television, what
are
they're
they
gonna
gonna let
let
him give a video?
Vikingo do. Yeah, because a lot of his
Mm.
stuff is visually very impressive, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of his stuff is also borderline unsafe.
For
So,
him specifically?
yeah, I mean for himself specifically, but
Yes.
and
I just hope they let it go 15 to 20 and just let that.
knowing, I just think because like knowing he's having this match against Chad Gable, and Chad Gable being known friend to El Grande Americano, who also has a match on Saturday.
Hmm.
How will that influence it, if at all? Just saying.
Right. Especially if Grande has to borrow Chad's boots again.
Yes, yes. Apparently, El Grande stretched them out, as per Chad Gable. His bigger feet.
Uh,
Brandon Brandon, what do you think? Or sorry, Peter Scott, go ahead. Sorry, you started.
Vikingo will retain in an absolute banger. Brandon?
Oof, da. I have to believe also that the Kingo will retain. I mean, he's kind of like he's been shown so many times on Raw as is. He's effectively the poster boy of AAA now. I can't see him losing to Chad Gable, at least not right away. Not in their first crossover show. That being said, with Chad Gable winning AAA championship and, throwing on a mask as El Grande Americano,
What are you
would it
talking
be
about?
funny? Huh?
What are you talking? It's different people.
I don't know where it is that we still are continuing to draw this narrative from, though. I
Well,
mean,
I mean,
you saw the boots.
they both say it themselves. They're different people. You're calling them
They
Oh,
were
sure, they
allies.
can
shown
say that,
being different
but
people the first day that Americana was there.
That's true.
I
It's
have to call forensic files on
it's
this one
fact.
because you have same body types, same poses, relatively similar singlets. I don't know. My skepticism is heightened.
Wow.
I
Hey,
know we
Chris
haven't seen
Jericho
both of them
from
in the same room at the same
1997. Go
time.
talk about your conspiracy theories elsewhere. This is a wrestling podcast.
That's Sami Zayn more
Oh, is
recently.
that
Come
for
on.
serious business?
Show some respect to the other
Oh,
Canadian wrestler that had conspiracy theories more recently.
Jericho did do it
yes, yes,
first.
yes.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, I don't think Chad Gable has mastered the dark arts of lucha libre. He did do that expedition, if you
Mm.
recall. I do not think he's a master. Therefore, I do not think he will beat Vikingo.
Yeah, he's yet to beat a luchador, I believe, since he took that expedition, right? I mean, I don't think he's beaten Penta recently. He did recently lose to Penta.
No, but
Um,
his friend El Grande Americano has.
yes. The
So
legendary, how can we forget?
yes, from the Gulf of
A
America.
grande. EGA, baby.
Gracias.
Yes.
CCC. Oh,
Um,
CCC.
That's going to take us into Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank also from the LA area. It'll be at the Intuit Dome later in the evening. That'll be on Peacock, Netflix if you're outside of the US. There are currently only 4 matches scheduled for this card. So,
Maybe
uh,
one more gets added Friday, but
yeah, I could see potentially one more being added Friday. We'll start off with a stipulation match here. Lyra Valkyria defends the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Becky Lynch. The conditions of this match are if Becky loses, she can no longer challenge for the Intercontinental Championship for as long as Lyra is champion. And if Lyra loses, she will be forced to raise Becky's hand and acknowledge Becky as the better woman.
Mm.
That is the stipulation for this match.
Hmm.
I hope they have just as good as a match as they did at Backlash. Hopefully, they have a better match even. Um, I am going to continue with my Backlash prediction. I think Becky wins the title here. Probably by some shenanigans.
Mm.
A little bit of rabble rousing, maybe. She's definitely going to cheat because I don't think she's going to beat Lyra clean.
Brandon?
Yeah, I think Becky's already shown her colors in that she's willing to do things that are a little outside of her, general rule book in order to win titles these days. So I have to believe that, especially also considering the stipulation and considering the history of outcomes with said stipulation in these matches, I have to go with Becky Lynch in this one. And I also have to believe that this will build to, spoiler alert, Becky versus Bailey come
That's
SummerSlam.
that's what I was about to ask. Where does
But
Bailey factor into this? Because I assume she's going to make an appearance either during or after this match.
mhm, absolutely.
I kind of think she's going to appear at Evolution. I
Hmm.
think she's going to be in their third of what I assume is a trilogy.
Hmm.
And then I assume that'll be like a legit gimmick match. Maybe a ladder match, maybe a tables match, maybe a tables, ladders, and chairs match. Maybe we get the return of the stairs match, boys. Um,
Oh, please give her.
uh, But I think Bailey makes an appearance there. I don't think she's going to be back just yet. If she does, I'm not going to be mad about it. Bailey's great, legend. But I think they're going to build Bailey Becky for SummerSlam starting at Evolution.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
I do think Becky wins this one. I still don't like the idea of Becky holding a mid card title. I don't believe that she is the right person to quote unquote legitimize the title. I think just good character work with the people that
I
deserve it more can elevate a title just fine. But I do think Becky does win this match.
Going into Backlash, I was saying Becky winning would legitimize it, but this feud has legitimized the title. Lyra has looked like $1 billion. She has raised her stock to the level it should be at this point, coming off a monster reign as the inaugural champion. And now losing to Becky, it doesn't legitimize the title. It gives it a prestige champion.
Yeah, that's a fair way of putting it. I just I mentioned it before at Backlash. I'm saying it again. I don't think you need your top stars to hold mid card titles to make them important. I think if you spend the time to give your mid card opportunities to show that they belong there, that should be sufficient. And
Yeah,
luckily, Lyra's had her chance now, and she didn't prior. But if that leads to Becky winning this weekend, like so be it.
I'm not saying everybody needs a Gunther run, but if they could have a Gunther-esque title run without going the 600 days for the mid card titles, it'll do it a world of good.
Yeah, I think Lyra, for what she's done, has been pretty significant. I mean, as a first champion, I thought she had been great. Like we said, though, I feel like Becky, and when you say Becky as being like a main, I mean, could she main event most any PLE these days? Sure, but fact of the matter is, I don't know. It may be just me, but I kind of feel like she is gonna gradually, especially more evidently in the next year or so, be taking backseat to, your Rhea Ripley's, your Bianca Belairs, your Io Skies, maybe even your Kairi Sanes,
I don't
But
know that that's
Becky,
true. I think she's always going to be the type to not necessarily be in the title mix, but help put over those people.
Her last two of the last three WrestleManias she was in, she put over Bianca, she put over Rhea. So
yep, Rhea.
And then she put over Liv last year. So it's I get what you're saying, but she's already kind of there.
Yeah.
So
she'll get another run as the main champion at some point, maybe even more than one run. She doesn't need it, but sometimes you need to have your top star be the top champion, right? And I would argue that she is still the top star, at least on the women's side on Raw. Her and Rhea are neck and neck.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, we'll move on to the next match here. We're going to leave the Money in the Bank matches for a bit. This, I believe, is supposed to be the main event of the card, but we'll talk about it now. It's Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul.
Thank God there was no fucking rappers after this match.
Besides John Cena. Yeah. We don't, again, like, the speculation stuff associated to, what happened to it being Bad Bunny and Travis Scott or whatever. Like, we don't know that any of this was actually true because that was never advertised, but.
Regardless, happy they're not in it.
I don't know. I'd like to see Bad Bunny in another match.
Bad Bunny, yes. Travis Scott, I could.
Hey, he could be good too. You don't know until you give him an opportunity.
Yeah, to Don's point, to be fair.
I don't need to hear Fiend again. I don't.
We know he lays some stiff shots out.
That is accurate.
Yeah. Cody can attest to this, yes.
That being said, it's weird seeing both champions kind of in the match. I know Rikishi said, "Why the hell is Jay not defending?"
He's defending on Monday. Why would he defend?
He says a lot of things.
That's a stupid thing to say. He's defending the title on Monday.
Well, I think he's just saying, why is he not defending it versus Gunther at the pay-per-view
Well,
versus
probably
Monday.
because he wasn't supposed to be in the match originally, and now he is in the match because the person who was supposed to be in the match isn't needed in the match because the other guy that's supposed to be on the other side of the match is not going to be there.
Yes.
Yep.
But I think with what we saw on SmackDown last week, I think Cody and Jay are probably going to win. I would assume Logan probably takes the pin. It would be interesting to see John take the pin.
I could see John Cena taking the pins in this one to Cody.
I think Jay, despite what Brandon thinks, is still going to be one of the most over people on the card, and they're going to still yeet and be happy. And
this is a main event Jey Uso shirt. It's not just a Raptors shirt.
Wow.
Wow. We're gonna keep calling you out on it, Brandon.
Yeet.
That's fine. Hey.
Yeah,
Come
next
on,
week we'll get
all
to
the way
talk about
to
how
it.
Gunther was buried in the desert, right? Like
All the
everything's
way to
gonna
the
come around.
desert. Yep. We're going all the way. That's fine. We'll take it all the way.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I think there's gonna be a lot of bullshit shenanigans.
Of course, every John Cena match now has bullshit shenanigans in it.
Yeah, he's beat up. He's 47. You need smoke, or he's 48 actually. You need smoke and mirrors for his matches. I'm somewhat hurt that it's not Punk versus Cena here to harken back to 2011, but it makes sense. They'll probably do that at SummerSlam if Cody versus John 2. But yeah, I think Rhodes and Uso hit the Cody, as Michael Cole said, and win. And hey, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
Went from the 3D to the 1 and D to the Cody. Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's dumb.
What an evolution.
That's yeet. That's dumb, but yeet.
Brandon?
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna probably just ultimately be set up for Cody versus Cena 2. I mean, it's what it is, right? I mean, unless we get some cash in again, same day, with the Money in the Bank and the men's Money in the Bank, I don't see anything else happening besides that. Will there be some hijinks? Perhaps. But that's ultimately the way I see it going.
Yeah, I think the faces win here. Yeah, I think the faces win here.
Do you have anything else to say about that?
Who?
Well, I mean,
me?
but do we end up like the dirt sheets being wrong and we get a Travis Scott appearance? Do we get a final boss appearance during this match? Like this is a high profile match. It's just a tag match. I understand that, but it's in Los Angeles. Like, do we get
Wayne doesn't give a shit.
Extra involvement from anybody else? Maybe as a do right for what happened at Mania or anything like that.
The last two Dwayne appearances are legitimately seemingly pointless because he came out on SmackDown to announce Mania in New Orleans, which is now not happening.
Yep.
And then for the Soul Sealing, and then Cena aligned with him, and he since he said on McAfee that it's not necessary for me to be there, Terramana fucking my cream, and I'm bald and I'm the Rock. If you smell.
Yes,
that's exactly what he said.
Sounds right.
I'm bald.
Yeah.
God.
Owning that shit. Eh?
I was paraphrasing.
Proud of this in your circuit, baby.
It's better than Hulk Hogan, who can't admit that he's bald.
No appearance from outsiders in this match.
Maybe Travis Scott, but I think that would probably be it.
I don't think Marta would be happy if you're Fiend again.
Oh, I won't be happy.
Maybe he'll have another banger out for the summer by then, and then we'll just all forget about Fiend.
Fiend sucks.
It's not the greatest song that I've ever heard in my life, but when we were at 41, I kind of caught myself. I did one of these, held the mouth, but You know, when it's
Yeah,
got you,
Sicko
it's
Mode was
got
a
you.
better song for sure.
Fiend, fiend, fiend,
Uh,
fiend,
Look, I'll play. I'll say
fiend, fiend,
it.
fiend, fiend.
I was fiending as well, but when you're there and there's 60,000 people with you doing it, you kind of fall in with
Marta
the
was not
crowd.
going fiend, fiend, fiend. She was ready to kill somebody who was doing that.
At the end of it, at the end of the night, I was ready to die or ready to kill somebody too. But
Yeah, I was
Donnie,
about to.
Yeah, let's. We're gonna get into the Money in the Bank ladder matches first. I'd like to start with the men's one,
Ah,
and the reason for that is we'll get into
carrying
that.
crosses in that.
No, that's not the reason why I want to get into it.
I'm sad.
The participants in this match are the True Tribal Chief Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Seth freaking Rollins, Andrade, and the aforementioned El Grande Americano. And I'm just going
who's
to kick
still
this one.
calling Solo the true tribal chief,
I
though?
call him that, but
This
Have
is
we
my
not
tribe.
already settled that matter?
I mean, it was never addressed on TV afterwards, so as far as I'm concerned,
Oh, okay,
Tribal.
fine.
it's like the 18th champion kind of thing, right? Like, just because they didn't address it. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to kick this one off here. Uh, I think there's honestly one winner in this match, and it is very obvious based on who's in this match and how TV has appeared to be over the last few weeks. And that winner is the megastar LA Knight. Like, there's no. I look at this roster on who's in this match right now. I love you, Andrade. You're not winning this match. Solo Sikoa, he's got his baggage tied to Jacob Fatu. He's not winning
I
this
saw somebody
match.
say that Solo should win and then cash in on Jacob. That's stupid and a bad idea.
Please
Delete your
don't
Twitter.
use Money in the Bank on undercard titles, please. Uh,
No.
El Grande Americano and Penta are in this match to establish a feud for them come SummerSlam. And Seth Rollins is the favorite, but he's constantly screwing over people like Sami Zayn and CM Punk and Jey Uso. That you got to imagine those people are going to get involved in this match, and that leaves one guy by himself, no obvious feud, nothing really going on otherwise, and that's LA Knight, and that is the obvious pick for the winner of this match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say this in agreement with you, Don. No, that's a
Like,
good assessment, though.
it might be fun to see other people win it, but quite frankly, like there's only one. Like the year that Damian Priest won it, everyone's like, oh, maybe LA Knight should have won it that year, and LA Knight didn't win it last year either. Drew McIntyre won it, but like there is absolutely no reason with the wrestlers that are in this match this weekend for LA Knight not to win. He must win this match.
Oh God, yeah. Well, and how many times do we got to get blue balled by the prospect of an LA Knight Money in the Bank victory, right? Like we've had this guy as a favorite for the last couple of years in the Money in the Bank ladder match specifically. So if they don't pull the trigger this year, I just don't know. We cleared him up from the U.S. title. He's out of. I don't want to say he's out of the vortex because that diminishes the prestige of the U.S. title and what they're trying to do with it, particularly with Jacob Fatu. But I have to figure, like you said, that LA Knight is the guy, yeah,
Well said.
to go with.
He's my 1A. I have a 1B. And that is El Grande Americano. And here's my reasoning.
It's not going to happen,
I
but let's
get,
hear it.
I get they're probably run Penta versus El Grande, but let's say El Grande
Probably.
wins. And then maybe whoever it is under the mask, I'm not saying it's Chad Gable because we know it's not him, but maybe something happens where we find out it is Chad and he has the briefcase, but that's not the name that's on the contract in the briefcase. And he keeps trying to cash in and he can't. I think that would just be, or whenever, if he cashes in, wins, and then he unmasks and it's Chad Gable, I think that would be a fun story to run.
That sounds like a very Vince story, if you ask me.
Well, according to a bunch of people online, we need to apologize to Vince and he needs to come back.
Yes. Because Vince would have never let R-Truth go. Yes. But
Yeah,
like,
but
it's a fun idea for a couple of these guys. It'd be fun to see Seth Rollins because he's like the focal point of Raw right now.
but
It'd be
Get a title
Doesn't
shot just
need
by
it.
beating Seth
Yeah,
Rollins.
he doesn't need it. It might be fun to see Solo Sikoa become even more of a meme, but it's probably not going to do it. Again, very clear candidate here. It's LA Knight. Yeah, the megastar wins this match.
Yeah.
Brandon is
The man
currently
in the
muted, but we assume he's saying yeah.
No, I'm absolutely saying yeah. No, sorry. There's a couple other noises I didn't need you to catch, but yeah,
Okay, all
you can
good.
count that one.
Our last match to cover here, again, not necessarily the main event, but I think the one that warrants probably the most discussion of the matches on the card is the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. That match
Possibly the most
features
stacked women's Money in the Bank ladder match ever.
could very well be. The candidates here are, or the competitors here, I should say, Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and Stephanie Vaquer.
This is tough. This is real
Mhm.
tough. I got two choices. Again, I got a 1A and a 1B.
There could be 6 here, honestly. I think all 6 of these women have a reason to win.
A reasonable chance of winning.
Chance to winning.
If we were to rank them, I would say number 6 is my last is my number 1 with a bullet of not winning, and that's Rhea Ripley. She does not need the briefcase.
Agree.
Nah.
Nope. But I have two choices. Number 1 is Naomi. She's the obvious choice. Her heel turn has been fucking phenomenal, and I would assume if Jade wins the title soon, that's who she cashes in on. Keep that story going. It's been a great story. Both of them have raised their stock from it. Naomi's never been a heel in the WWE, and her character is one of the most entertaining characters on TV right now. My number 2 is the one I've been saying should win it since the Royal Rumble, Roxanne Perez, especially with an assumed Liv versus Io story coming soon, and some more dissolution of the Judgment Day. Also, R.I.P. the Judgment Day's PS5. Carlito, I guess, took it with him.
That's what happens.
If Liv were to beat Io for the title, Roxanne cash in on Liv right there, cause more dissolution in the Judgment Day. There's 2 built stories ready to go right there. Vaquer could easily win it just because she is going to be a megastar. Julia is going to be a huge star as well. She could win it, but I think she's going to go towards the U.S. title. And Alexa, I would assume, is going to be in some spoopy nonsense with the Wyatts now that they're back. So
I don't know about that. The direction that they seem to be going with her recently is that she's going to have a feud with Charlotte Flair. Now, whether that involves spooky nonsense beyond that, we don't know. But it seemed like in multiple weeks she's been having conversations with Charlotte. That's probably the match that is that evolution between those two.
Yeah, you never know. But I mean, every single woman in this match has a reasonable chance to win it, and obviously it's wrestling. Every single one of them could be penciled in as the winner. But who honestly cares? Like, genuinely, this is probably the most unpredictable match we've had all year since maybe the Men's Royal Rumble.
Well, that one was sure unpredictable.
Eat.
Brandon?
Yeah. I mean, my stance is that Julia is to take this. I mean, I feel like a lot more people might side with Vaquer on this. I don't see Rox getting it. I think Rox is a little. I mean, I understand her involvement with the Judgment Day, and Pierce, what you had kind of proposed made sense in the scope of storytelling. I just hate to see like Liv continuing to. I mean, if she is a double champ, whatever, that seems to be the theme nowadays, right? But
You're thinking of Liv as a heel, though. In this scenario,
mhm.
she won't
Yeah.
turn.
I don't know. I see Julia winning it. I mean, I don't know how long she holds on to the briefcase for. What you had said, like I said, makes sense in the scope of storytelling there for Rox. That being said, though, too, like, and I brought this point up before, Rox is very, very young, right? So if we want to just fast track Rox's whole career and have her win, start winning world titles at the age of what, 23, 24, and just continue to go from there. I mean, she could have a Randy Orton career too, I suppose. Um, I don't know. For me, it just seems like Rox is a little too soon, arbitrarily. Um, I
But
gotta feel
Julia
like they're gonna
isn't.
go with, huh?
But Julia isn't.
Well, Julia, I believe, has been around for a little bit, though, has she not?
Not in
Correct me
Not
if
in
I'm wrong.
WWE.
WWE.
Not on
Well,
the main
right, no, not
roster.
in WWE,
Not even in
but
NXT.
right.
She didn't start wrestling until what was her first
September.
appearance? Was it Heat Wave last year as her first appearance, or would have been after that?
Her first appearance was Stand and Deliver, and
Well, no,
then
no, no.
she
That's
like
she
debuted,
wasn't
I think, at GAB, and then
Great American Bash, right? That's what it was. Yeah, she didn't.
and then
She
her first match was until like September, October.
yeah.
I guess within like the scope of NXT, well, I guess in the scope of pro wrestling in general, well, Rox has been going since she's at least been a teenager,
15.
right? Julia's been floating around for a bit in Japan as well for Stardom and for Marigold and all that. Um, been around a bit longer than Rox, and I don't know. I guess maybe doesn't have as long as a career considering Julia's 31 and Rox is what, 23, 24, like I had said.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I feel like, and it's hard too, right? Because you have both Stephanie and Julia, and they stage both of those two as like the next women, kind of like the Bianca and Rhea of their generation, shall we say, right? So that's why it's kind of hard pressed for me to believe that not one of them would become women's Money in the Bank this year. Um, I mean, Julia is intriguing for the fact that she just all of a sudden now is on SmackDown. She had a bit of a team there with Rox for a bit on Raw, and then they lose a match, and now it's kind of just its own thing, right? But I don't know. I feel like I said, I feel like Julia and or Stephanie probably have the best chance of winning this year Money in the Bank. Probably Julia, but
So
just me.
on my side, I think again, similar to how I did with the guys here, I want to think who's going to tell the best story as Money in the Bank champion, who's already involved in stuff, who isn't involved in stuff, who needs to be involved in stuff like that. So I think when I think of who's on this match, Alexa, as mentioned, she's probably going to have some kind of feud with Charlotte Flair. I don't think she ends up winning. Roxanne Perez, I also don't believe she's going to win. She has loose, she's heavily involved in Judgment Day right now. Whether that ends up being a mixed tag match or just a one-on-one with Liv Morgan, that is coming. I don't see her winning. Rhea Ripley is a weird case because she is kind of in limbo right now, but she also doesn't need to be in the title picture. We risk that fatigue where if all she's ever involved in is in the title feud, then you get some fatigue like you had with Charlotte Flair, like you had with Bianca Belair. I don't think she's the right person to win this match. But she doesn't really have much else going on otherwise. So I could see her winning. I just don't like the idea of it personally. I do
Nor do
believe
I.
I do believe Julia challenges for the U.S. title on SmackDown and likely wins over Zelina
Hmm.
Vega. So I don't think she's the right pick. Stephanie's another one that I mean she's so fresh on Raw. She doesn't necessarily have a storyline lined up right now, so she could also potentially be an option. Uh, but my pick is also going to be Naomi. But I do want to emphasize one thing, as I did last year when we were doing Money in the Bank predictions. A woman has never lost the cash in, ever.
Right.
And we are overdue for a woman to not successfully cash in the Money in the Bank contract. And
Are
I
we?
think, Nate, it's never happened. Every single cash in has been successful.
2012, so about 7 years since. Yeah, I
From
guess so.
from Carmella all the way to Tiffany, every single woman
Well,
who's
I'm
won has
I'm
cashed in, except for Asuka, who was technically just given the title on Monday Night Raw immediately afterwards.
I'm thinking in terms of the men's because
Oh,
2005 to
men's
2012 was about
have
7 years.
lost. Baron Corbin
No, no, I'm
lost.
saying for how long before the first loss was.
Yeah,
Because the first loss was seen in 2012, so it was about 7 years. So we're about at that time, if not a little more.
Yeah, I think we're overdue for a woman to lose, and I think the logical one to lose is probably Naomi. I think it adds better
That's an
story.
unfortunate prognosis.
It might be, but like alternatively, what you have Rhea Ripley win and then lose. I don't think giving it to either the younger up or either the three up and coming talent. I don't think giving it to them to lose is wise at all. So that cuts the three of them out. Yeah, I mean, you could have Alexa win and then lose to some spooky interference or some nonsense, but people are gonna shit on that. So
Hmm.
that leaves Rhea and Naomi, as far as I'm concerned, as the people that are most likely to win this match. I wouldn't like to see Rhea win because it's going to shoehorn her into more title matches. I don't think that's the best place for her right now, but her getting a loss and losing her mind might not be bad. I just think it's better position for Naomi in that position. So, and someone needs to lose at some point. And yeah, maybe Naomi shouldn't be the one to lose, but I think somebody should lose at some point.
It would fit her character
Yeah,
if she lost.
I think it would too. And there's enough people that she's pissed off that can cause her to get screwed over too.
fair.
So I'm going to pick Naomi, and I'm going to double down and say she also loses her cash in whenever that might be.
Hmm.
I think she's gonna win her cash in if she gets it, but I think it's gonna be on Jade. I think Tiffany's probably gonna lose the title to Jade.
We discussed this offline. I don't see WWE running face versus face in that match at all. Like that's just something they historically do not do. And the reason for that is it's going to end up causing someone to be completely screwed over by the crowd reaction, which I 100% believe would be Jade in this mix because no one is going to boo Tiffany in that match.
Sure.
Mm-mm.
I don't think that does Jade any favors to get booed for a title win.
Understandable.
So, that covers Money in the Bank.
And our show.
And our show, yes.
Wow.
As a reminder, follow us on our social medias. You'll see more content there. How's the TNA stuff going there, Brandon?
Oh, it's getting interesting. I mean, obviously, Mike Santana has proven to be a pretty big presence for the TNA brand since Joe Hendry kind of shuffled off onto the side there after losing the Trick. But I mean, Mike Santana is a strong prospect, I feel, for almost any wrestling company. Like, people have been rumoring about him in NXT at some point in the near future as well. And it's interesting, right? Like you have this partnership with NXT and TNA and like what kind of transference or trade is there going to be with like the talent? I mean, obviously Joe Hendry, his contract comes up this year, so there's talk of him jumping ship to WWE, which I could easily see, right? Mike Santana though is being a really good flag bearer in place of Joe though. So I'm very, very, optimistic about Santana's role in TNA, representing the brand, trying to get the belt back from Trick, in lieu of Joe Hendry just now going off to against all odds, going to be fucking about with Frankie Kazarian. But that's got to settle itself, I guess. But no, I'm like I was last time we talked about it. I'm optimistic about the partnership between NXT and TNA, and I'm glad to see what they're doing for the brand.
All right. Next week we'll cover the results from the two shows that we talked about today. Pierce, you're going to say something?
I'll probably be posting more of those TikToks. We'll see. We'll see if I get better at it.
Oh,
Try not to
the
steal
Tixie
from
Talk.
Jimmy. Again, shout out Jimmy. He's a great dude. But yeah, I'm excited for the weekend. It's gonna be so. Let's have a good time. Let's crack a few brews and let's enjoy wrestling.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
With
Yes, sir.
that, I think you can send us on our way.
Speaking of cracking a few brews, thanks for stopping into the Ope-Eh 3-Way. Have a beer on us. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.